Hey, what's up? I've decided to share just a few tips that I have, short tips with short videos for the most commonly asked questions that I get. So ever since I started making videos on my Hi-Ace, which happens to be a 1990s Japanese JDM diesel four-wheel drive, I've started to get quite a lot of questions from fellow owners of other 1990s JDM vehicles from all around the world. And if I get more than say 4 or 5 people asking the same question, I figured I'd just make a video about it, and that way if someone does search for this information in the future, they can come across this and hopefully it'll answer any questions that they had. So one of the biggest questions that I'm getting at the moment is it safe to use biodiesel in a 1990s JDM diesel engine? The short answer is absolutely yes. So biodiesel, whether it's made from corn or palm oil or whatever, potato skins, will still need to meet the certain regulatory criteria set as part of like a Fuel Standards Act, depending on where you are in the world. There will be fluctuations, but it shouldn't really affect the biodiesel aspect of that too much. So it's safe to use biodiesel in a 1990s Japanese diesel engine. However, there is something that's lacking in not just biodiesel, but also crude oil diesel that is different to when our cars were first engineered and designed. So our engines were most likely engineered and designed in the late 80s and then built from the late 80s through to the 90s and into the 2000s. If you had my van in 1997, for example, and you went to the gas station, you pulled out the diesel pump, you stuck it into the fuel filler neck, and you started pumping diesel. The biggest difference between what you're pumping into it now versus back in the 90s is the level of sulfur in the diesel fuel. So it don't matter if it's just straight crude oil diesel or if it's a biofuel blend. And I say blend because you'll never find 100% biodiesel. That's probably not ideal, and I think it does cause damage if you were to come across just 100% biodiesel and dump that into your engine. Hence, you'll only get 5, 10, 15, 20%, maybe up to a maximum of 30% biodiesel blend. You'll never find at a gas station just straight 100% biodiesel. What's lacking in the crude oil diesel and the biodiesel is lubricity. So previously, if you were to fill up the car in the 1990s or earlier, you would have a pretty high level of sulfur that's added to the diesel fuel. Sulfur works as a brilliant lubricant. The injection pumps on these older diesel engines are very precise, finely tuned pieces of machinery. There's a lot of moving parts in there. It's basically just a small engine that's bolted to, well, a bigger engine. And they have, like I said, a lot of moving parts, as well as a lot of gaskets and seals. And that sulfur really helped to lubricate all of those moving parts and also kept those gaskets and seals in tip-top condition. Because of the newer diesel fuels lacking in sulfur, they have added different lubricants into it. However, nothing can really replace just how good the sulfur was. So my recommendation is, regardless of the fuel that you're going to run in your diesel engine, whether it be straight crude oil diesel or biodiesel, to use some diesel fuel conditioner. It's not the same as injector cleaner. This stuff, in my opinion, is absolutely essential. If you have a diesel vehicle and you don't run diesel fuel conditioner at least in every second or third tank of diesel, like, you're not doing yourself any favors. Using some of this, and it doesn't matter what brand you get, you can do the research as to what offers you the most bang for buck where you are in the world. It can easily double the lifespan of your injection pump. So ultimately, it does save you money in the long run. It also cleans out the injectors. And remember, diesel fuel conditioner is not injector cleaner. So it's a completely different thing. Injector cleaners is kind of like a solvent. You can think of it like petrol, where it will basically evaporate away, but it cleans things as it goes along. Whereas diesel fuel conditioner is more like a degreaser. It's kind of oily, but it still gets things clean. And it's very difficult to clean something and then keep it lubricated while doing so. And this is what this stuff does. It cleans and lubricates the entire fuel system, prolonging its service life. Also, it has a whole host, depending on what brand and type of diesel fuel conditioner that you get, has a whole host of other things that it does for your diesel engine and the entire fuel system of your car. Just a few of those things. Improves the cetane rating. It'll say on the bottle if it does. It's kind of like running a higher octane fuel in a petrol car. You get more bang for your buck, and that means more power, and the engine will run cleaner. After running this for about 4 months, I noticed a genuine increase in peppiness out of Vision's engine, and just a whole lot more torque. It prevents and stops rust in the entire diesel fuel system, so that means your steel fuel tank, all of the hard lines, your injection pump, your injectors, and it's just a good thing to clean all that gunk out. It keeps all of the seals and gaskets in good condition. Depending on the type of diesel fuel conditioner that you get, it could have anti-biocidal properties. So algae and bacteria for some reason like to live in diesel fuel. And what this stuff does is it has agents in the fuel conditioner to kill off that bacteria and basically kill off that algae. So it just basically focuses on doing a lot of different things, attacking a lot of different issues within the diesel fuel system, all in the one package. Cleaning, lubricating, removing fungus, bacteria, algae, increasing the cetane rating of the diesel fuel. It stops foaming and gumming up of diesel. Again, depending on the type of diesel fuel conditioner that you get and the region that you're in, it might also have an anti-gelling agent in there. So if diesel fuel is left, just crude diesel fuel, left in freezing conditions, it turns into like a gel. And obviously gel won't flow through filters and through an injection pump and then flow through an injection nozzle to be burnt. So quite more often than not, if you don't have Alpine rated diesel or a diesel fuel conditioner in your diesel, and you leave the car sitting overnight, and overnight it snows and temperatures plummet, that diesel fuel can then gel up, and then the next morning you might find it very difficult or even impossible to start your engine. So depending on where you live, it'll say on the bottle of the diesel fuel conditioner if it has anti-gelling properties as well. What it also does is disperse water. So diesel is notorious for having water in the fuel system, depending on where you are. Generally, diesel fuel supply in busy city areas, metropolitan areas, is pretty good because the fuel doesn't sit in the underground storage tanks at the gas station long enough for it to get condensation. But fuel in remote regions where a big tank of diesel sitting underground, heating up throughout the day and then cooling off overnight, that could build up condensation, and it does it, twice a day, every day, and it might take a good 2 or 3 months before that diesel fuel is replenished. So that's a lot of condensation being built up into that diesel fuel supply, and then you pump it into your car and you're going to get quite a high content of water. And that's why most diesel engines or most diesel vehicles have a little light on the dashboard that comes on to say that there's water in the water separator for your fuel filter. And most fuel filter elements and housings will have a little drain plug at the bottom for you to be able to drain out the water and then carry on. What this stuff has is a water dispersant additive. If you imagine pouring oil and water into a glass jar, they will be separated. What the water dispersant additive does is it basically mixes the water and allows the water to mix in and emulsify with the diesel fuel. That way it can be pumped through the diesel injection system without causing too much damage. Remember, you've already got the anti-corrosion inhibitors inside this, as well as the lubricants and the anti-wear additives and the cleaners. So it allows that water to be pumped through the injection system and then be burnt as part of the combustion cycle. Just ask the big trucking companies, because most of them, and even the independent operators with big diesel trucks, most of them have and will always run a diesel fuel conditioner. So it does work. It's not snake oil. Diesel fuel conditioner. You cannot afford to not use it. Thanks for your time.